Hello, welcome everyone to the Connected Learning.tv weekly webinar series. I'm Jeff Brazil, and I'm with the Digital Media and Learning Research Hub based in Southern California. We host this weekly series on connected learning. It features researchers and practitioners and leaders who are working in the area of trying to reimagine education and learning. And today we are delighted to have Cator with us. Karen is the Director of Educational Technology at the U.S. Department of Education. Before that, she worked with Apple for many years, and before that, in public education. So she has a really interesting perspective on the issues of technology and learning and education. And today, for those of you joining us on live stream, we really welcome the questions and comments on the stream. We'll pull the questions in as many as we can, as often as we can, into the chat, into the people in the Hangout, the experts in the Hangout who also will join in our conversation. There's also a Google Doc link in the live stream chat that John Baraloni, our community manager, has put in there. And we really welcome and appreciate people sharing links or thoughts or comments on that Google Doc. It's open to everyone. The more notes that we get from everybody, the more that we capture, the better. All this information is archived and shared widely after the session. So before I turn it over to Karen, who's going to start us off with a brief presentation, I wanted to let each of our experts in the Hangout sort of introduce themselves briefly and sort of talk about their connection to connected learning and the topic of this week's webinar, which is Connected Educator Month. Let's start with you, Darren.
Oops, unmute yourself.
Yep. Hi, I'm Darren Cambridge, and I'm a senior consultant at the American Institutes for Research in Washington, D.C., and I'm the project director for the Connected Educators project that is convening Connected Educator Month.
Thanks, Darren. Go ahead, Lisa.
All right, I'm Lisa Schmucke. I'm the founder and CEO of edweb.net. We're a free professional social network for everyone involved in education at any level. And we help educators and institutions, schools, districts, associations, education companies to use EdWeb to create online communities for educators. We've been working at this for 5 years. And one of the things that we see is how valuable educators find these communities and how supportive they are, but what a challenge it is to convince many educators to participate. So we are really grateful for any effort that is elevating this conversation and this awareness. And so I just can't thank Karen in particular and Darren enough for all that they've done to launch this initiative. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Cheryl?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Nussbaum-Beach, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Powerful Learning Practice, which is a professional development company that I co-founded with Will Richardson about 6 years ago. And what we do is we offer professional development for connected educators. I also have the privilege to be working on the technical working group with the Connected Educator Project with the U.S. Department of Education, and Powerful Learning Practice is one of the sponsoring organizations that's been working behind the scenes with Connected Educator Month. Absolutely thrilled. Cannot tell you how excited I am to see so much attention, so much positive attention from the U.S. Department of Education across the board with all of us that are connected and those of us that are becoming connected. So thrilled to be here and excited to share in the conversation today.
Thanks, Cheryl. Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Sandifer, and I'm an educator, online educator, edublogger, living and working in Houston, Texas. And I also do some consulting work as a technology coach for a local nonprofit that has a very long history of creating and facilitating learning cohorts around leadership, literacy, and mathematics. And my work with them has for the past year and going forward is specifically focused on helping this organization and the cohorts that it facilitates move from completely face-to-face to more blended, connected learning practice out of necessity. Because we're in Houston, which is very large, and the cohorts are people who are located all across the city. I like Cheryl, I'm so excited to focus on this month-long focus on connected learning Connected Educators from the U.S. Department of Education, because it adds some validity to the work that I'm trying to do here locally, but it also allows so many of us to have this time to have this really deeper dialogue around why and how we're doing all of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And last, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Whitby, and I've been an educator for 40 years, 34 years as a secondary English teacher, and the last 6 years in higher ed working with student teachers. I originally got connected through LinkedIn, formed about 5 education groups on LinkedIn, moved over to Twitter. I've got about 23,000 followers on Twitter at this point. I'm one of the founders of EdChat. So I'm the guy responsible for putting up those 5 topics every week. And I also created the Educators PLN with about 13,000 educators globally connecting. Most recently, I've been hired by SmartBrief to be a contributing editor to their Smart blog on education. It's a place where I gather as many education bloggers as I can to put educators back into the discussion that they've been moved out of by politicians and business people. So those are all the ways that I'm connected, and I'm very glad to be here today. Thank you.
All of you in the Hangout, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing your skills and your passions. And Connected Educator Month is sort of a first of its kind, and I'm excited to hear how things are going and what Karen and her team are learning. So Karen, why don't you start us off?
Oops, did I do that right? Is that right? You see my screen now?
We see you still.
All right, hold on. I'm sure I can share. Oh, I gotta pick the window.
There you go.
All right, there we go. Thanks. And I just want to take one moment and sort of geek out just for a second. And this is unbelievably cool that we can all do this. Everybody here thinks of this almost as second nature, but I was just talking with someone recently, and he made 2 points. He said, first of all, you know, a very wealthy person can buy the island of Lanai, as Larry Ellison did, but we all use the same search engines. We all use Google, we all use Bing, we all use, you know, the same technologies to find information, which is one interesting thing. The second interesting thing is, you know, 5 years ago, we could not do these kinds of video conferences. And so it's pretty amazing that we all can just get together online at, you know, 1 o'clock here on the East Coast and have a conversation for an hour with video, seeing each other, using chat, using multiple media types to share information. Nobody had to fly anywhere. It's just really, really amazing. So this is kind of the backdrop for Connected Educator Month. Just remembering again, you know, it is absolutely not about the technology, but without the technology, we actually couldn't do these kinds of things. So I'm just going to run through a quick sort of background, you know, high level. Many of you have heard this, some of you haven't, just kind of give you a sense of how we got there. And then I know Darren has kind of numbers and some of the updates about the actual month, and I won't steal any of that thunder, but just want to give you kind of a background and sense of where we're at. So I think, you know, about a year and a half ago, yeah, almost 2 years ago now, we launched the National Education Technology Plan that really focused on how do we actually power up the learning environment and transform the system by leveraging the power of technology. It was structured as this kind of graphic shows, with a learning chapter that talked about fully connecting students in school and out of school. And the entire initiative that MacArthur has been funding around connected learning is actually, you know, absolutely the same kind of thinking and messaging that we articulated in the learning chapter. How do you fully connect students with their own learning? How do you build agency? How do you connect in school, out of school? How do you make sure that you're connecting to their own personal stories, their own backgrounds, their own languages, and making sure that everybody is on the best possible trajectory for learning that they can be on, leveraging all the resources around them. The assessment chapter was really kind of bringing assessment back into the assessment for learning conversation. How do we make sure that everybody has the right feedback and the right information when and where they need it to progress on their own learning trajectory? The teaching chapter then was about a highly connected educator, which obviously is kind of where this came from. is really thinking about how teachers can be fully connected, how they can be inspired to learn, how they can learn themselves kind of in professional settings, but in personal settings, and really how we leverage all of the opportunities to learn today for professional educators. And that's what we'll mostly talk about today. The infrastructure chapter talked about what we need in terms of infrastructure to make this happen. Productivity had to do with making sure that we are creating a very efficient system, and a system that doesn't have people sitting around not doing what's most helpful for them, but how do we leverage all of these technologies to create a system where each person is fully engaged and fully inspired and fully working on what's most helpful for them when and where they need it. Research section actually said there are lots of things we need to learn, lots of grand challenges, things that need to be developed and designed and invented in order to continue to improve the system. And so definitely interested in that. So that's kind of the high level 50,000 foot kind of backdrop. The other 50,000 foot backdrop are what are the technology trends? What are the trends happening today that actually make this possible? So you know it's mobility 24/7. People can be online. They can leverage their tablets or phones or whatever they happen to have with them. It's a mobile learning culture, and people are learning everywhere. Social networks like we have here, leveraging the power of people connecting together online and in a variety of places, and kind of using that online space to fully develop their own opportunities. The proliferation of way more better produced, highly produced, more and more intelligent digital content, and the systems that actually help that content find the learner when and where they need it. It's sort of a trend we're seeing around digital content. The proliferation and the beginning work around big data and learning analytics, and how will we leverage the kinds of data that we're going to see to fully engage and also to learn more about learning. So it's for big data systems that help us understand social networks with social network analysis, help us understand the various learning trajectories and how we can assign resources and people to help progress, help each student make progress. Real-time feedback, that's something that we're seeing more and more, better adaptive engines that are allowing students to have more and better feedback as they go through their day. And the same thing with teachers. How do we make sure that teachers are fully connected to the information they need, to the feedback they need, in order to be more successful with each and every one of their charges, so to speak, or their students. And then the Common Core standards and college and career ready standards in general, and the Common Core in particular, are helping states and districts build more of a shared conversation and helping us better connect the resources and the people and the feedback and the data to kind of a common set of identifiers. So that very quickly is kind of a flyover of some of the current trends that are supporting this kind of notion of connectedness with learning. Secretary Duncan said last February, when we look at all of this and look at the trends and look at what's possible, we do need to transition to digital learning in the next 5 years. And when he says this, he's not saying we love shiny objects, but really saying in order to build equity, in order to improve access to the opportunity to learn, we need to fully leverage all of the things at our disposal, all of the opportunities that we have to engage students, to personalize the experience, and to promote each and every person's learning. So why digital? So I just put this together so that we all remember that digital isn't, again, just because it's here, but there are these and many more that I'm sure you can think of, these kinds of things that are the affordances when we move to digital. The accessibility technologies that allow text to read to you, that give each student kind of their own layout and their own personal experience with the content. The opportunity to present much more complex concepts with explanations and animations and simulations, and make those things available online. Adaptive environments, feedback loops. The use of professional tools for creation and distribution of content and access and participation, communication and collaboration environments. We shouldn't make light of the fact that as we flip to digital, every single student will have access to the internet in their pockets, in their backpacks, in their hands, on their desk, at home when they're doing their homework. They can access primary source documents. They can read books in the public domain. They can obviously, both free and fee-based resources, everything on the internet. We can't actually sort of gloss over the unbelievable impact of having access to the internet and the opportunity to learn. Opportunity to connect and participate globally, as we're talking about here, supporting engagement and persistence, accessing experts and expertise and those people that can help each and every person, whether they be a teacher or a student, help them get the help they need when and where they need it. Kind of like the click on the chat box if you have a question with your homework and a tutor comes up and helps you, or click on your professional network and you have someone who can help you deal with this problem of practice or this particular student exhibiting certain behaviors, and someone who can kind of think that through with you. Connecting in school and out of school, and fully personalizing the learning environment for learners of all ages and all stages, from early learning all the way through to career development. So then we talk about personalized learning is for professionals too, right? So every single teacher should also have their ability and opportunity to have their own professional trajectory, their own professional aspirations and goals, fully supported with the online environments, with the experts and expertise, with the content, tools, resources, feedback, data, lots of opportunities for teachers and other education professionals to be very supported and fully connected. So that was all of the backdrop quickly that when we talk about this Connected Educator Month and the kind of this whole thing around connected educators, we decided when we had a little bit of money that we would put together an RFP that said, who can help us really think through this notion of connected educators, to do some research around communities of practice and do some research around how people are learning together online. We want to try to launch a couple communities ourselves and see what it feels like and what do we learn from that. Are they successful? If not, why not? Can we rapidly iterate and try some new things? We have found that learning from the plethora of communities out there already is probably the most useful thing that we're doing. We're learning from. We're trying to do some research around these kinds of things, and Darren can talk a little bit more about that. And then we thought we actually had some money in this contract to say, let's have a conference on connected educators. And so we thought, instead of doing a face-to-face conference, let's see if we can shine a big spotlight on all of the opportunities that people have to learn together online, and see if we can, in fact, learn something about what's happening. Are there gaps? Are there practices that are more helpful? How do we help teachers, and how do teachers create their own personal learning network? How do they think about that? What's available to them? So that was kind of the thought behind Connected Educator Month. So we took this month and we said, let's create a calendar and try to begin to keep track of all the different opportunities that there are to learn in an entire month. And we have been blown away at not just the responses to Connected Educator Month, but blown away by all of the opportunities to learn online. We thought we knew a lot before this. We're learning a lot now. We will be kind of capturing some of those learnings and publishing those back out to everybody. So with that, I'm going to jump back into the Hangout and join the discussion. I think we might want to start with Darren kind of giving a sense of kind of what's happened with Connected Educator Month, some of the numbers we're seeing, and kind of a little bit more of the background. Do you want to do that?
That sounds great. Thank you, Karen. Darren, go ahead.
Sure. So hi, everybody. Karen did a great job of providing kind of the rationale for Connected Educator Month and the larger context in which it's trying to operate. And we're really trying to, one of the things that we clearly was a learning from the first 15 months or so of the Connected Educator project was just how much great stuff there was out there. And we've learned a lot more during this month of August and in the run up to Connected Educator Month. But we really wanted to say, this community is doing great work. That if people aren't online, it is not because there's a lack of opportunity. There's tons of great stuff. But sometimes it's more disconnected than we'd like it to be. We didn't see always that sense of sort of shared enterprise. There were some collaborations that we thought there was potential for that weren't happening yet. And so we thought if we could spend a month really engaging with all of these folks that are doing amazing work, folks like Lisa and Cheryl and Tom and the list goes on and on and on, and we have over 125 different organizations, communities, and networks that are offering events during the month. Then we might be able to both get a lot more educators connected and make connections within ourselves as a community that's already committed to online personalized professional learning for educators. And I think we're really seeing that, and I'm going to let Cheryl and others talk about their sense of how the field is responding. But we're certainly seeing lots of individuals responding. In the middle of an event like this where it's very distributed, it's hard to get exact numbers. Can't tell you, 295,000 people are doing X, right? But what we can say that there are thousands of people participating. We can say a conservative estimate, we're on track to have over 25,000 hours of professional learning completed during the month of August through participation in Connected Educator Month. That's based on average attendance at the events for which we do have attendance figures. It makes the assumption that people do stay and participate for a whole hour event if they're an hour event, which isn't always a good assumption, but certainly in almost everything I've been participating in, one of the things that's really struck me is how many people are there to the end. In all of our kickoff sessions, we've had people have been chatting manically by the end of an hour and a half session, and we've had to kick them out the door. I think that suggests that we're really having a high level of engagement in many of these distributed events. Things have also gone on crazy in social media, particularly on Twitter. We're averaging 1.2 million Twitter impressions a day using our hashtags. Now that's not on an EdChat scale yet, but it's pretty good for something that's been going on for 3 weeks. The quantity and quality of resources and ideas being shared in those spaces is really impressive. A number of folks that are in the Hangouts today have been real huge contributors to those conversations, and also introduced, some have become critical friends of Connected Educator Month and said, hey, are we doing enough to reach out to people who aren't connected, to people who aren't participating yet, and what can we do? So one thing that's come out of those Twitter and blog conversations is the idea of adopting a colleague. And there are lots of people out there now that are saying, I'm going to find one person a week or a day that I'm going to try to bring in and get them online, get them participating in Connected Educator Month, get them signed up with a Twitter account and following some people that can have something to share with them and interacting with them. And so we don't have data yet on the scale at which that's happening, but that's largely been an example of something that's organically occurring through the efforts of everyone in the field. And so we feel really honored and lucky to have the opportunity to help convene all of these fantastic people who are doing great work, and we hope that we're both honoring and amplifying your work and your voices. I'm very eager to hear about others that are here today, what your experiences are. I certainly at some point could share examples of different kinds of events and things that are going on. I have a big long list of notes that I wrote before here, but I think it would make more sense to really talk to some of the folks that are participating either as direct participants or as hosts of events and activities, and hear what your experience has been and where you're finding value.
That's great. Thank you, Darren. We're already getting questions from the live stream chat, so it's a reflection of the desire and interest. But I wanted to give each of the folks in the Hangout with us, starting with you, Lisa, a chance to share observations, insights. You've been seeing what's happening with Connected Educator Month, and the learnings that insights that you have, and both those things that are positive, but also those things that that raise challenges or questions for the next steps, those sorts of things as well. Let's start with you, Lisa.
Oh, great. Thank you. I think, can you all hear me? To turn my microphone back on here. This really is so exciting, and I think that just we're going to have an incredibly long tail from just the events that have taken place and the relationships and the collaboration just during the month of August. I feel, I'm sure that you're going to be archiving all of the presentations. I think that Connected Educator Month can be a fabulous centralized place for people to come who can't, you can't keep up with it. I feel like I have to not sleep the whole month to keep up with everything that's going on. So I think that the idea of having a central place, if this can be sustainable and something that we can continue on an ongoing basis, I would just highly endorse we keep this going. I think that the collaboration from the point of view of being an education community manager and being able to make some connections with Cheryl, we've come connected more through this, and other practitioners, which has really been great, and that's going to help, I think, us all to work more together and at least share information. While our platforms are separate and unique right now, and there are, questions of how can we bring all of that together, I think the Connected Educators is a way in the short run to do that until we find technologically better ways to share information across platforms. I hope that all the things that we've done to promote Connected Educators have, come back. It's certainly come back and around to us. We've had participants in our events all month who've come from the promotion that's gone on for Connected Educators, and we really appreciate that. Anything we can do to continue to make educators aware of how important it is to begin to engage in these communities is so critical. And I think, the information and the finding resources is important, but we try to do this in a very personal way on EdWeb. And we find that the emotional support people feel that they get from this makes them feel so much better about their job, and that there's a place where they can go outside their immediate local community to get to support for a new idea. Or something maybe be trying to do that might be bucking the trend of what's going on in their particular school or district. So I think that that's very important. And we also see the importance to give incentives. So we give simple certificates of participation for webinars. There have been other conversations about that through Connected Educator Month. And I think that whole movement to figure out how educators can get credit for engaging in these activities, because I think the educators who are doing it now are so committed, they're so self-motivated, but we need to figure out ways to appeal to those who need a little bit more encouragement to participate. So those are just some of my initial comments. There's so many things to talk about.
That's very good. Thank you very much, Lisa. Cheryl?
Sorry about that. So Karen, how exciting, and Darren, thank you so much for sharing from your perspective. I got to tell you, I'm almost so excited I can't sit still these days. Even sitting here, I've had a hard time sitting still. It's so motivating for me to know that the U.S. Department of Education, Arnie Duncan, you, Karen, that not finally, because I know with the ed tech plan and all the research that you've been doing behind the scenes, but finally in terms of visibility, to have this recognition, this almost blessing from on high, this idea of connected education. There was a lot of people, I think, that were out in the schools that were wondering, is this the best use of our time? Is this really something we need to be doing to enable kids to become empowered, to be building their own personal learning networks, to allow us to be able to connect together, and to be able to see that the U.S. Department of Education not only has said connected education is so important, we're going to give a whole month of attention to it, but also knowing that that you, instead of saying in the tradition of traditional education, we'll control it from on high, that you came in with the spirit of connected education, in that you have provided the venue, you have brought everybody together, you have given us a reason to celebrate, you have given both organizations and schools and districts and individuals an opportunity to come in and share their ideas and to bring people together together and to have powerful conversations, and without a lot of control, without a lot of top-down kind of control. And I just wanted to say that that has been an awesome model, I think, and has actually spurred the kinds of collaboration that I was hoping would happen. One of the things that I've seen most is, I know there's been some concern that during Connected Educator Month that we're only reaching the connected, so we're preaching to the choir, if you will. And that hasn't been my experience. Powerful Learning Practice has been offering lots of different events. One of the things that we've been doing is to peek inside the life of a connected learner, and I would say every time 3/4 of the people that are in that event, and it's hundreds, are people that when I poll the audience would say they're just beginning to understand and use these tools, and that they're not somebody they would consider a power user or a connected educator. The other thing I've seen is that in the Connected Educator Book Club, I'm fortunate enough in a book that I co-wrote with Lonnie Ritter Hall called The Connected Educator, that we're doing a book club this month, and we've had over 500 people join us. I hope other people will as well. It's not too late. And in that book club, we have some top leaders of top organizations who are just starting to get connected, who want to understand how to build a personal learning network, want to understand how do you use these tools to build the kinds of relationships and have the kinds of conversations that are really going to help to make principal changes to education. So I'm seeing lots of people that aren't normally running in my circles, and I run in these circles, and so that's been incredibly exciting. So my initial reaction is that I'm just really excited that that the U.S. Department of Education is involved, and that you guys have seen it appropriate to give a whole month to these, to just get us started, to get everybody connected, and so that I can find all these other people that normally weren't in my circle and normally weren't part of my connected learning experience. And I'm learning so much. So thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Stephanie, what are you seeing and learning?
Oh, there's so much to say. First, let me say ditto to everything said so far, because this month is just blowing me away. I already consider myself a connected educator, and I have. I started blogging in 2006, got on Twitter in 2007, and have built this incredibly powerful and supportive PLN over the years. So I was excited going into this month, and I'll admit that during one of the first webinars, the first few days, I was one of the critical friends in one of the chat windows, and I apologized to Darren in privately, and I said, I'm not trying to criticize what's going on this month, but I'm concerned that we're seeing the same same names, same faces in these initial webinars. But over the course of the past few weeks, it's just mind-boggling how much this has blown up. And just like what Cheryl said, I'm getting new Twitter followers who are, I go to look at their profile, and they're only following a few people. They only have a few people following them. It's pretty obvious that they're just getting started, and their first few tweets are, hey, checking Twitter out. And that's happening right now. So there are people that are jumping on board. And I'm not gonna get too much into I don't want to take away from what I know. Tom's gonna have some things to say about the concerns around the choir, preaching to the choir, the echo chamber, but his initial blog post on that prompted me to put together some ideas around what can be going on outside of this virtual connection, or these connection activities that are happening. But I do want to say that in that post, one of the things that I brought up was the issue that there's a lot of stuff that's invisible to us right now. So all of these webinars are powerful, they're amazing. It's great for us that are involved in this, and it's great for the new people who are coming on board. But there's a lot that we don't know. We don't know how many people are out there doing face-to-face things with teams. I love the fact that there is an incredible amount of material being created this month. There are tons of webinars recorded now that are fantastic and great discussion starters. And I know that I will be trying, I've already been doing things outside of the visible aspect of Connected Educator Month with my local networks, or the people that I work with locally, sending them emails with lists of things that are going on each week. sending them updates, sending summaries, sending links to recorded sessions. But bring together a bunch of face-to-face colleagues and sit them down and watch one of the webinars together. So there's a lot of invisible activity that I think is drawing people in. And yeah, it's hard to track all of the numbers across everything that's going on, but I'm seeing an increase, and it's just I don't know the numbers, but I know that I watch the Twitter feed every day, and it's getting to the point now where it's hard to keep track of everything. When I initiated, or I decided my personal goal for the month would be I would blog every day, and personally, just the little activity that I've been involved in Connected Educator Month, I don't know how Darren and Cheryl and everybody else is doing all of this, because it's I'm exhausted, and I'm not even doing half as much as what they're doing. But in blogging every day, initially it was easy. I was thinking, okay, look, here are the events today. Let me talk about that a little bit. And now I'm finding that I'm having trouble keeping track and keeping up with everything, because there's so much stuff coming out across the Twitter feed. It's just amazing. It's exciting. It's affirming. It's encouraging. And I'm looking forward to having access to all of this throughout the years I continue to work with educators face-to-face and locally.
Stephanie, thank you very much for that. And Tom?
Well, boy, everybody has had so much to say. I don't know what to add to all of this. Maybe giving a little perspective, being the old fart on the panel here. Being a connected educator, for me, it's become very important. It gives me relevance because I've been around for a very long time. And much of what I learned, as an example, I did get a master's degree in educational technology. But when I look at what I learned on, and when I looked at the hardware I used and the software I used, even the methods that we used, none of that exists anymore. It's gone. And in order to stay relevant and keep up with all this, it's not like you can go to a journal anymore and read a journal, because they're not being published the way they were being published. The way to really stay connected today in our technology-driven culture is to be connected and to hang on to the internet as much as possible. But the worst advocates for being connected educators are connected educators, because they tend to blurt out everything in the world that they're doing as connected educators, and somebody who's not connected is just blown away by that idea, and they're overcome with anxiety about getting on and doing all of this stuff at once. So if I could give anybody a bit of advice, it would be to take what these advocates are saying as the overall goal and just take it a piece at a time. I hate to use the term baby steps, because we're all educators and we're all educated people. We shouldn't have to take baby steps, but sometimes that's what's required to get yourself involved. As a connected educator, I believe the only way we're going to educate our children is to first educate our educators. And unfortunately, they all don't know yet what it is they don't know. And until they get connected and start to engage in the conversations that many of us have been engaged in for a while, it's going to take a while to catch up. And I go back in time to a period in time when for professional development, we used to have to get things approved. And if you wanted to get your professional development in a course that you were taking approved, if you said that it was an online course or a computer course, somehow that mindset of many administrators was that you're trying to cheat the system, that you're not learning as much online as you would be if you were sitting in a classroom for 3 hours at a time. And for a very long time, that was the mindset of many educators. And I think some of that lasts a little bit today. But the whole idea of connected educators is that this whole group of people all have similar personalities, in that they're all people. They like to collaborate. They like to help. That's what teachers do. And you see that in any connected community that you manage to hook onto. These people are just there to help you learn and to understand things. So that's about it. I don't want to take up too much more time.
No, I appreciate those remarks, Tom. Thank you very much. I wanted to point out, vis-a-vis Tom's remarks, that there should be in the live stream chat now a link to a starter kit. So for those of you who are just sort of beginning to get involved in this idea of connected educator, being a connected educator, there's a link that would be very, very helpful. I want to move to the series of questions from the live stream chat, which are reflective, I think, of challenges as well as the possibilities, with all of this. And the first question is, what can we do about the bottleneck of bandwidth at schools and in classrooms? And Karen, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on that, at least to start.
Yeah, so jumping into the easy stuff, how do we build highways and systems across the country? I mean, that's a great question. It is incredibly important, because without these, we can't actually do all these things we aspire to and the things we've been doing. So I guess I would say a couple things. One is we want to use this growing network of connected educators to do a broadband speed test in September. So we actually need much more data. We don't know, actually, school to school, other than anecdotally, if people tell us our broadband doesn't work that well, our network doesn't work that well, we actually don't have great information. So we're going to start by doing kind of a broadband speed test, but we also are looking at the ways that we can support, so the agencies across governments, both federal and state, that build networks to try to make sure that schools are always an integral part and kind of a really important use of broadband, so that everybody understands, to make sure that schools are connected. Inside the school, making sure you have a robust school network and continuing to upgrade that. That's really hard. We have people that are responsible for school networks across the country, not necessarily fully trained, or they're not necessarily highly technical. And so creating a community for those people to make sure that they're learning together and sharing resources, that's another thing we're doing. We're going to be launching a community called Epic Ed in a few days, and that's the kind of space where we hope that people who are responsible for school networks can get together, share their problems of practice, share solutions, and begin to, again, ratchet up the opportunity for better networks, much more bandwidth, because we know it's absolutely critical for student learning and for professional learning.
Did anyone else in the Hangout have a thought on this access issue, which I know is sort of fundamental to all that we're talking about? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next great question from the live stream chat. I am interested in how we build an ethos of support among superintendents for connected learning, key leaders who either control explicitly or implicitly the connection flow for kids and teachers. That goes to anyone who'd be. Cheryl, do you want to start us off on that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's most important for anybody who's in an educational leadership position is to really think about how to own these strategies, how to own these concepts before they try to give them away to their teachers, or for teachers to own them before they try to give them away to their students. I think that often we talk about no child left behind. I think the one thing we haven't talked about is no educational leader left behind. I know in a lot of the districts that I go to or that I work with powerful learning practice, that often there's not a budget item line for superintendents to be able to receive professional development. And in this era of do-it-yourself professional development, I think that probably they should be the first people to the table. And the way that I would recommend that is that they use a three-pronged approach, that they build, join, become part of online communities of practice where there are deep collegial kinds of conversations with other educational leaders from around the world. So globally, they're sharpening from diversity of ideology, diversity of geography, and they're being able to discuss, from a very collegial perspective. And this is a busy group of people that typically, are so overwhelmed with just the day-to-day routine that they have to go through in leading districts that they need that kind of sharpening from each other. Also, I think they need to work on building their own personal learning networks, following different hashtags that are for educational leaders in Twitter, following the blog post of people like that are writing about these kinds of things from a leadership perspective. And also, I think the face-to-face kinds of things that they're doing in their cabinet, that by research shows that if you have an educational leader or an administrator who is embracing these technologies and modeling their use, you're going to see a higher incidence within the schools or the districts of use by faculty. So I think that it would be a great way for them to, for superintendents to really start to think about in a very principled way and make time for not only saying, yeah, we need to do that in our district and we need to make sure our bandwidth's working, and but first to not change anything about the way they lead, not change anything about the way they have their principals lead or they have their teachers teach, but to really change everything about the way they learn as a personal learner. And I think if it could start, we have so much bottom up coming with connected education. If we could get an equal amount of top down, then I think that's when we're really going to see a change in the dispositions, beliefs, and values that we need to see to reimagine or remake education into what it needs to be to support today's learners, 25, 30 years into the future.
Lisa, I think you had a point here, and then
yeah, if I just might add one thing there. We've got to change the mindset of a number of administrators.
Sure.
Can you say more, Tom?
Yeah, well, okay, I'll wait for Lisa.
Tom, I agree with you. I agree with you. So one of the things that we observe from EdWeb, and everybody's community may be different, but we have a partnership with the owner of an education database and have been inviting educators at all levels, administrators, librarians, teachers, to join our communities on an ongoing basis. And we have communities for educators at pretty much all levels. And we also have data. So, to Karen's point about using the data to help us understand things, we've gone into the data and we have looked at who's participating and who's most active. And I'll tell you, the school librarians in our community are absolutely the most engaged, the highest participants, the best communicators, the most supportive of each other, followed by the teacher cohorts, and then the administrators are really last. And so what we're really doing, rather than trying to get people who are harder, it's sort of like marketing, right? Like, where do you go to try to find, your easiest prospects to bring in? We're trying to work more and more with the library community. And I think the librarians, they're becoming chief information officers for their schools, resource officers. And I think we should marshal them more. They're left out of this conversation a lot. And I think that we can really marshal them and help and support them more to help educate the teachers and their administrators on how to use some of these tools.
Can I just add one thing? I started to say it before. The mindset of many of these administrators, where they come out and they ban people from accessing the internet. And when they put a ban out, they're not just banning the students from use, they're banning their teachers as well. Many teachers can't access what they need to access from within their schools. They can't access it until they get home because of the bans that the schools have. And much of this is because of administrators being misguided through their interpretations of what the FERPA law is and what the SIPA law is. It's really their lack of understanding. They think they're doing the right thing by banning kids from the internet, but it's wrong-headed. We need to educate more administrators as to what their rights are and how safe kids really are on the internet. If we want educators using the internet and being connected, we have to give them access to it, and many schools do not do that at this point.
Stephanie, you had a point, and then I think Darren has a resource or two to share as well on this very subject.
Yeah, just to follow up on everything that everyone's saying about leadership, I see it as if we want the classrooms to change, if we want more connected classroom environments, we have to create connected educators. But in order to create more connected educators, we really need connected leaders. And one of the when I do face-to-face stuff, when we do sessions, presentations, whatever, one of the points I like to make about this is one of the problems, Tom was just talking about mindset. Part of that comes from not being aware, not knowing the value, not knowing how, why to do all of this. And one of the analogies that I like to make is driver's ed. So we want kids to be able to drive cars because it's an essential life skill. Well, our children are going to be working and living in an environment that is highly connected globally. They will be working on teams at work that, they may have colleagues on the team that are in India, China, wherever, somewhere else. And they need to know how to do this. Teachers can't really facilitate that unless they understand it themselves. It's the same thing with the leaders in the organization. And so going back to that idea of it being like driver's ed, we don't learn how to drive a car from someone who has never driven a car before. We don't just sit down and read a book and, okay, I understand now how to operate this large machine. So it's, for me, it's all of the adults in the environment have to be connected learners in order to understand how to create a connected learning environment that works best for the students in the classroom, that prepares the students for this. And part of the stumbling block we run into there, for me, from the work that I do with educators, is either the assumption that kids are already, I hate the term digital natives, but kids are already digital natives. It's like, no, they know how to use technology easily, but they don't know how to use it productively, efficiently, effectively, safely, and we can help guide that. So I could go on and on and on about this, but those are my thoughts on the issue of leadership.
No, and I want to just point out, we're getting to the top of the hour, and there's some great questions I want to get to. So if everyone can be really brief with the comments, it would be really helpful. Darren, you had a resource to share, I think, on this very subject, and then I want to move to that next question, which I thought was terrific.
Yeah, okay, two things really quick. One is one concrete opportunity to get your superintendent involved is Leadership Week, which is going on right now. So there are 8 or 10 or 12 events that are specifically targeted at building district and state level leaders. So encourage anyone who's participating today to call or email your superintendent and say, hey, go check out Leadership Week, see if there's something for you. That's a way to invite them to jump in right away. The second thing is that when you're in that kind of position, you have a lot of public scrutiny on you. And so speaking up and learning in a very public space can be really challenging. Certainly there are great leaders who are doing that, who are being examples, but that's a challenging thing. And so we may also need to direct some of those folks, at least initially, to spaces that are a little more closed and tailored to them. So Ed Leader 21 is an example of a community specifically designed for leaders, with more of a gate to go over to get inside, that may help some of those folks become more comfortable, and then hopefully come out into some of the more open public spaces in which we're all engaging.
Thanks, Darren. I want to move to this other question that was asked, which I think raises another great point conceptually. And the question is, or comment, we use the word personal a lot. Aren't we curious what might happen when we truly facilitate curiosities versus our assumed basic foundational content?
Yeah.
Who wants to take that one?
I'll jump in really quickly, and absolutely, very curious, very excited about the opportunities when students have their own sort of resources in their hands. That can actually augment teacher professional abilities. It can support teachers. And what I'm going to be really, really excited about is once we start getting into the idea that we can create new kinds of assignments that actually fully engage students on a personal level. The content will come along with it. The skills will be developed. The assignments can be things that will engage students in a more personal space. So I think that's right. I think the other thing is, when we talk about personalizing learning, it isn't just about going through the same stuff at the same pace, and it's not just about differentiating, but it is about fully engaging students with their own backgrounds and interests. Absolutely curious about what will happen as we start to see that. And I think one of the things that we will see is a sort of a much more engaged student body, so to speak.
Anybody else have a thought on that?
You know what? One thing we have to add. One of the problems. Yeah. One of the problems with any educator is this idea of control. Personalized learning kind of turns the control over to the student, and that's really a new concept for a lot of people. Back many, many years ago, we used to be told you have to have control of your class, you have to have control of your students, you can't give them any control. And that's kind of like hung in there quite a bit. If teachers start to understand that they can give control to students for their learning, things will move a lot quicker, because once a kid takes ownership of their learning, they're invested in doing well in it.
And building the abilities with students to have kind of a sense of agency and know how they can take charge of their own learning and how they can actually be invested. So yeah, absolutely.
So we have about 5 minutes left. We like to honor the time commitment on the hour, and I want to give each person in the Hangout sort of a final comment or question or next step, and then ending with you, Karen. But one comment that did come in on the stream that I saw that I thought was interesting is, shouldn't every month be Connected Educator Month? So sort of one last round here with your sort of final comments or observations or questions or guidance. And let's start with you, Lisa, and end with Karen.
Okay, can you hear me? Well, the first thing is I endorse that. I think every month should be Connected Educator Month. And it really, I think the really point is that it really comes down to the students, right? We're talking about educators, but the whole point is the students are so far ahead of the educators with their use of technology. And I was trying to think 20 years ago about how I even got my work done without these tools, and think about where we're going to be 20 years from now. So it's really to help the students to learn better and to be able to work better in the future that we need to encourage educators to do this. So, I mean, I think the focus, I mean, for me, is on anything that we can do to encourage people to take those, educators to take those baby steps. And I agree with Tom that they have to experience it to get why it's valuable, but is one step closer to being in a community.
Thank you, Lisa. Cheryl?
So I guess what I would say to that is that, yeah, every month should be Connected Educator Month. And so if we all believe that, then let's start marching forward. I do think that there's a big difference between personalized learning and the personalization of learning. I'm all about wonderment. I think that we do need to bring curiosity back. I think that these tools allow for the self-actualization of educators, that we can move educators up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't think that any of us have the full answer. I think that the reason that people need to be connected, the reason that I need to connect to the folks at DML, the reason I need to connect to the folks at EdWeb, the reason that we need to be collaborative rather than competitive, those of us that have been, you know, I see so many people throw their hands up and say, oh, well, this isn't anything new. Congratulations, USDOE, you finally got on board. We've been doing this for years and years. So what? Okay, the point is that right now we have the opportunity for us to move forward, to start sharing these ideas, sharing these concepts, for us to collaborate together, for us to ask each other really hard questions, for us to start to collaborate in very collegial kinds of ways, for us to find each other. You want to be Googleable, you want your best pedagogy up online, you want to share what you're doing that's working. Maybe take Tom's advice and don't share everything, but do share, because as George Siemens says, when you are transparently sharing, you are teaching. And that if you start to build your digital footprint, and I can find you and I can learn from you, and we can, you know, truly mobilize the learning that's happening, I think we're going to figure this out a lot quicker, and then we'll be able to see the transformation we want in schools, and that all of these problems and these obstacles and these issues, that if we all work together on them, it'll be better than just pockets of people working on them in separate places. And so I'm excited. I hope that people will connect with me. I want to learn from you. I want to learn with you. And a great place to start is the Connected Educator Book Club. I know there's a lot of people in there that are holding hands and really taking small steps and figuring it out together. And so I just want to offer that if you need another starting place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of minutes left. A final comment, Stephanie?
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree that it shouldn't be just 1 month, and for me, what's great about this month is it's been very energizing. There's been this incredible collaborative energy around this topic, and I intend to use any and all of the resources throughout the year as I continue to do work locally. And I know it was posted in the chat, the link to the starter kit, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I think it's a great tool to use for those of us that are trying to coach people through those baby steps that were mentioned. And I think that, let's keep the energy up, continue to collaborate, as Cheryl said, because that's where the power is. It's not in competing against one another. It's in collaborating and putting all of our heads together and moving forward.
Tom?
Oh, you're muted.
Tom, can't hear you.
That's because my mic wasn't on. I think if we had a Connected Educator Month every month, it would kind of lose something. But one of the things I just want people to keep in mind is that comfort zones are the biggest obstacles to reform. People don't want to leave their comfort zones. And if we can make them comfortable with being connected, it might move things forward a little bit. And by being connected, it doesn't require a huge amount of time as many people would think. If anybody spent 15 to 20 minutes a day being connected, just time to read 2 blog posts and to look at a Twitter stream to pick up a couple of links, and you can do that in 20 minutes a day. It doesn't take much. And that gives you the relevancy that you need as an educator. So it's not something to be scared of. It's not something to be afraid of. You're not going to break anything. Just get yourself connected for 20 minutes a day, and it will make a huge difference in a very short period of time.
Huge. Darren?
So 2 things. One, please, if you're interested in this issue of personalization of education, we have a rich dialogue going on in the It's Personal forum on the Connected Educators Month website. So hopefully someone will post that link in live stream. Encourage you to go there and join those conversations. A lot of these issues are being explored there in some greater depth. The second thing is that one of the outcomes we're really looking at for Connected Educator Month is to what extent do people continue some of the learning and collaboration practices that they begin during this month of August throughout the year. And so we'll really be trying to track that, to contribute to it as we go forward beyond Connected Educator Month, and to report back to you.
Great. Karen, last word.
Yeah, this is really cool. I want to tell you a couple things. First, I feel your pain about the filtering, because I actually had to come home to do this today because this Google Hangout was blocked at my office at the U.S. Department of Education. So I, like you, are working with our IT people to say, unblock us. That's one thing. Second thing is, I had somebody in my office the other day saying that he was practicing using hashtags in his email so that he could get prepared to use Twitter. And at first, other people thought that was funny, and I'm like, that's perfect. Like, practicing the privacy of your own private emails, then get online when you feel ready. I think even in this conversation here, so many rich topics came up: broadband, curriculum development, safety, filtering, building a driver's license, all personalizing, all of these kinds of things came up just in this quick, very fast hour. And I love the idea about adopting somebody, everybody who's kind of even 5 minutes ahead of the person next to them, helping everybody find one way that they can begin to get connected, build their personal learning network, get connected online. And the last thing I'll say is Secretary Duncan is really actually very excited about Connected Educator Month. He has wanted to tweet about it every single day. It's something that we hear a lot about teacher evaluation, and it all sounds kind of not so much fun, but connection and learning and support, those are the kinds of things that Arnie actually gets very excited about, and it's been really fun. We do know that we have this tremendous opportunity to be a nation of learners, people who learn together all the time. We have great new opportunities to learn, and on this topic, we laser focus on professional educators and all of those opportunities, and building that in a very coherent and sort of empowering manner. So thank you very much to my colleagues for being here. This has been a very fast hour, and look forward to seeing you all in new connections online.
Yes, thank you again, Karen, and to each of you in the Hangout. We really appreciate your perspective and a lot of concrete wisdom there. A couple of things before we sign off here. please visit Karen's webinar page. It'll be up on connectedlearning.tv later today. It'll be a full recording of the webinar, all of the questions that were asked that are time-stamped, a list of all the resources that were mentioned or cited or shared, an archive of the live stream chat, and we welcome you to continue the conversation on that page as well. All the comments, anything else you share post this live stream chat will also be up on the site. Our next session is Tuesday, August 28th, so a week from today, at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and it'll be with Bud Hunt and Cindy O'Donnell Allen, and the topic is practitioner inquiry as part of professional development, so somewhat related to today's topic as well. Once again, thank you so much, everybody, for a rich conversation, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.